podcast. This is Tapis.
And this is Kalina.
Welcome back to Eat, Lead, Sleep. So again, last week we had a really good first podcast where we kind of talked about work-life infusion, and today we have a
Woohoo!
very special topic for you guys. Or one of our favorite books, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and
Yes.
we're naming this our book review part episode one. And we're gonna do a lot more of these on a monthly basis, so definitely tune in. But before we start, I know Kalina has a special toast
Yes.
she wants to make.
I do. I actually have a nice bottle of Terramana here, which is, if you guys don't know, this is the
Fine.
Rocks Tequila. And I actually have been wanting to try this for a while. Wait, T, can I see that bottle you have?
Oh, I know. I like it a little too
Your
much. I'm
bottle
already.
looks way a little emptier than mine is. Mine's actually brand new. I haven't popped it open yet. So I wanted to give this a try for the first time with you guys today. And tequila is actually one of my favorite choices of alcohol. So I'll give that a pour. T, you have your cup ready?
Ready to
All right.
go.
So I want to give a toast to all of our listeners and watchers out there today, and toast to work-life infusion.
Yep.
Cheers, you
Cheers.
guys. Cheers.
Oh, it's so good. And again, I think in the past, and I've told you before, Kalina, I'm not a big fan of tequila, but this one's super good. I like whiskey a lot more, but this is so good. Definitely try it out.
And we also have a surprise guest today. This is my son, George. George, you want to say hi to everyone? He's probably asking why you're drinking while you're working, Mama. All right, you can go.
So I think one thing we definitely wanted to go over is maybe do a little bit of a recap on last week's topic. So I know we talked a lot about work-life infusion, and I had promised I was going to go ahead and start doing that and applying it to my life. So I think that was something that I really wanted to talk about because I did change it up a lot. One thing we discussed was around, hey, work is a part of your life. You don't want to kind of keep it separated. You don't think you need to make a balance of it. And in the last, both Kalina and I, we're in healthcare profession. We're healthcare providers. We are both district managers. So we lead big teams, and because of the COVID-19 vaccine approaching to the general population pretty quickly, both of us are being asked to do a lot more to get our teams ready as well as help protect the patient. So I would say in the last couple of weeks, it's definitely been very challenging. A lot has been asked of us. And I know for me personally, I've been working a lot of hours, just trying to get everything ready to go, get my team trained, hire people, and all that kind of stuff. But because of that mindset of work-life infusion, I don't actually see myself like, oh God, I got to work another 10 hours. I got to work 12 hours today. I don't
Yay,
see that, right?
good. I love
It's
it.
yeah, it's so cool because I'll work at one until like 1 a.m., which again, Cal, I normally sleep around 10 a.m., 10 p.m. So the fact that I'm staying up until 1 is quite a task, but I don't I don't feel like, okay, I'm tired. I know this is what I have to do. This is what's being asked of me every single day. And it's a part of my daily life. A part of my daily life is I have to make sure my team is ready to go and that we are ready to protect our patients. So I actually do not feel like I'm working too much. It's kind of crazy to think about that because I might have put in at least 60 hours the last couple of weeks. But I'm like, you know what? This is a part of my life. This is what's being asked of me, and work is what's important. So
So I love that, T. That's the whole holistic concept that we talked about with the work life infusion, right? Where you're just one person and you just got to do everything as it comes in waves. My story is actually a little different, so it's really cool to see the different spectrum of how we're both looking at work life infusion. And mine is that I'm not letting all of the additional work really take over my life. I'm still sticking to the 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. work schedule, and then everything else that I'm not able to do, I just put off and wait until the next day so I can go spend time with my family. And I feel okay with that, right? Like, I know that there's always so many other things that we need to do, but if I wanted to, I would could work forever and it would just never end. However, I have to be the one to say this is enough for today. I'm going to table it, and then tomorrow I'll get back to where I'm at. And I'm okay with it because I've been able to prioritize what's really important, what's really urgent, and then address the biggest concerns of my team and of the cause itself. So now I'm not working till 1 a.m., which I would have been previously, but I'm still going to bed at a good amount of time, still being able to wake up and feel good about having that infusion of my work in my life.
So again, guys, when you guys get a chance, definitely listen to our first podcast. It's a really good topic, a really good video from Michael Walters to that does kind of explain the whole thing. So I highly, highly encourage it. I think that leads perfectly right into what we're going to discuss today, which is around Atomic Habits, one of our personal favorite books that we listen
Love this
to.
book.
It's a very, very popular book. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of it before. But we did want to kind of break it down, maybe give you guys a quick Cliff Notes version of it, and then kind of give our examples of how we've applied some of the stuff that's in the book to our day-to-day routines, and just, how it's changed us and how we kind of think about it in terms of productivity. So, quick background around James Clear. He actually had a very severe accident when he was little. I think he actually got hit in the face, right,
I
Kalina,
think so,
by a
yeah.
baseball.
Yep.
And to say the least, it messed him up pretty good. He was having multiple seizures at all times. He loved baseball, so this definitely pushed him back in terms of trying to make it to the MLB, or even just furthering his career. So when you think about it that way, it's as you said, but especially when you think about like, this is baseball is my life, this is what I really want to do, and when you have that kind of an accident, it definitely can be very discouraging. So this is where he kind of started doing this whole, to help himself get better, trying to obviously get over his health concerns, but also as he did get older in his life, in college, he realized that he needed to change how he looks at things and how he prioritizes things. He kind of mentioned in the book about how his friends would be out partying, but he wanted to work on trying to get better himself. So he started just adding small little changes to his life, which ended up helping him a lot and actually got him in the baseball league. So yeah.
Very inspirational book, right? I love it. And it breaks down into the following parts of how the surprising power of atomic habits
Mm-hmm.
is very effective. It talks about how habits shape your identity and vice versa. And then he goes into how to build habits in 4 very simple steps. So before we go into all of that, I do want to kind of shift back to what Tapas was talking about, that atomic habits part,
Mm-hmm.
because he mentions the 1% rule. And I think a lot of you guys have heard that if you're in a leadership profession or in some sort of a self-help, that 1% rule is really important. And that's, how do you make a change by just 1% a day? And by doing so over time, that allows a compound effect to have an even greater impact on what it is that you're working on. What I really liked about the example he pointed in the book is he talked about the British cycling team.
Mm-hmm.
And this British cycling team was probably one of the worst cycling teams in the world. And so they got a new coach or a leader. And what this leader did was they made 1% changes in everything across the entire team. So they changed their uniform. They painted the inside of the cycling vans white so they could see every single speck of dust that may be inhibiting the traction of the wheels, and that could be slowing them down. They made 1% changes to their workout facility. And so just tiny, tiny changes. And within a year, I believe, they became the number 1 cycling team in the world. So it was really, really cool. I love that story.
Yeah, and he also had an example around the water temperature, right? So like, 32 degrees Celsius is when water starts to boil, right? I think that's right. I'm so bad with my science, but I think that's what it was. Celsius, not Fahrenheit.
I think that's when ice starts to melt.
I said some at
Yes.
Celsius.
I don't know. This is quite bad that we both don't know our.
Yeah, that's all right. But I'll use a boiling water example, right? Which is essentially like, you can increase the temperature little by little by little, and it's not going to boil. The water's going to get a little warm, a little warm. Then all of a sudden, it just boom, just starts boiling like crazy, and then that's when you can start to see the huge change in the water happen. So that's the same kind of idea you want to apply to this. You don't have to necessarily expect the water to go from ice cold to boiling water right away. It's going to take a gradual amount of time. It's just a small step, just small incremental changes to the degrees. Then all of a sudden you can get this breakthrough point where you're going to just see like boiling water everywhere, and then you want to put your pasta in. So,
Exactly. That's that breakthrough point he talks
yep,
about.
yep.
And the another example is he talks about tectonic plates. So in,
Hmm.
we have tectonic plates and they're constantly just rubbing up against each other little by little every single day. But one day, all of a sudden, the plates just rub up in the same fashion, in the same manner, and all of a sudden, it creates this huge earthquake, right? So,
Hmm.
very, very cool to see that you just have to stick in there, stick to it until you break through that plateau, and you'll see outcomes. And then, in addition to the 1% rule, he also talks about creating a system and having an identity change.
Yeah, so this was a really interesting topic for me because he kind of talks about like, you know, for lack of better words, screw goals, create a system, right? Which essentially create, don't just set, you talk about like, oh, everybody has a goal. If you run a marathon, everybody wants to win the race. That's everybody's goal. But how do you get there? How do you win a marathon? You have to start running every single day. You have to make sure you're eating right. You're recovering properly. So that's a system you want to create, and you continue to build on that system. So if you say I want to run a marathon one day in my life, you cannot just, again, your goal is definitely there. You definitely want to set the goal if you want to run a marathon, but how do you get there? What your main focus should be is to create a system that will help you get to that goal. So you want to make sure you wake up in the morning, you get at least this many miles a week in your run, you recover, you eat properly, you continue to do, and you build a system where you just continue to do that every single day, and that's going to help you get to that goal. And I'm a big football fan. Talk about how Bill Walsh, he always talks about like, don't just look at the scoreboard. Everybody wants to win the game every single day. So you can't just expect to just look at the scoreboard and like, yeah, this I want to win the game, so my goal is to win the game. If you have a good system, if everybody's doing their part, everybody's making their plays, you will eventually go ahead and win the game because the score will take care of itself. So that was very, very important to me because I think I definitely do a lot of times just look at the overall goal, and I don't actually think about how or what am I doing on a daily basis to get me to that goal? What kind of system am I creating to set myself to get to that goal?
Yep, he says long term planning is goalless planning.
Yes,
So I thought that was very
that
inspirational.
was really good.
The other thing he talks about is identity change, and I loved
Hmm.
this one a lot because it how you think of it, how you think of yourself as a person really shifts how you behave and how you act. So the example he gave in the book is someone who's trying to quit smoking, right? If you say, "Oh no, I'm trying to quit," if someone offers you a cigarette versus, "Oh no, I'm not a smoker," those are
Yes.
two very powerful and different approaches to what you want to be and what you want to do. One is I'm trying, whereas the other one
Mhm.
is I'm done with it. I'm not even going to go there, right? So it's also that mindset of how you look at things. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I think just for me, one thing that I've applied was I want to lose weight. To be honest, COVID was not good to me either. Was it
The
the
COVID
COVID 20 is what
19.
they call it? COVID-19,
COVID
19
20.
pounds extra as well. Um, but the mindset is I don't want to I don't want to lose 19 pounds. I want to be I want to live the life of a healthy person or an athlete. So if what would an athlete eat? What would an athlete do on their day to day? Because athletes are very, very healthy
Yes.
people. So what do? Are they going to eat this slice of cake, or are they going to go work out? Are they going to do this? Are they going to just sit on the couch, or are they going to read up on their plays or read up all that stuff? So like I just kind of try to think about it that way. Like, would an athlete eat this cookie? Probably not.
Yep.
I should not be doing that either because I'm trying to be a healthy person and not just lose weight.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk about the four laws of behavior change. So it breaks down to four things. First is you got to make these behaviors very obvious. Second is how do you make it very attractive? Third is how to make it very easy. And the last is you have to make it satisfying. All right, so breaking it, going deeper further into each one. First one is make it obvious. So that's something we've kind of already talked about. It's creating a system, seeing how you get there versus looking at the goal, like Tapa said. How do you start new habits? He introduced a concept that I actually really like, and it's called habit stacking. So, what people find very difficult when they start creating a habit is they say, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and then maybe they do it one time or two times, and then they kind of stop doing it, right? People say, "Oh, I'm going to start working out." They'll do it maybe one day, and then that's pretty much it, or maybe after a week they kind of stop. And
Yeah.
what can help you is if you habit stack. So what that means is you add a new habit onto an existing habit and making it very clear and obvious. So at the end of the day at 5 o'clock, when I shut down my laptop, I will do 10 push-ups. So very obvious of when you're going to do it and how you're going to do it.
Yeah, and I think something that I've applied to my life is just when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna make the bed, I'm gonna floss, and after I brush my teeth, I'm gonna floss. I think that's something I always forget to do, but I'm just adding the habit because I never make my bed, and then I'll brush my teeth and then I'll look at my phone. But now I'm gonna add the flossing part because that's gonna be super important. So yeah,
Yes. Yes, definitely. The next law is make it attractive. So this is all about making what you want to do, that behavior change, so irresistible, something that you have to do. And conversely, making sure that it's not unattractive and something boring or something that you don't want to do. And the third law is make it easy. So this is, I like this one because he talks about walking slowly forward but never backwards. There's also the 2 minute rule, so making it easy by just doing something maybe 2 minutes of the day. Maybe if you want to read this big, crazy, long book that you don't have time for, that's fine. Just read 2 pages a day. Anything that's just very, very small, and then just making good habits very inevitable and bad habits really impossible. And then the last law is make it satisfying. I really like this one. It's because research shows that it is more likely that you will repeat something if it's something that's rewarding and something that you really want to do. So it's how do you create pleasures in order to have repetition of what you're doing. So essentially the first three laws, make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, is all about doing it this time, actually able to do it. And then this last law of making it satisfying is actually ensuring that you're going to continue doing it for next time. So it's also a cycle that kind of loops and all ties in together.
yeah. So kind of like the tail end of creating a system, right? So like, it's not just making the system; it's how you continue to progress towards it and also continue to do it every single day. So, Cal, do you want to kind of go into, or maybe I can start, but do you want to go into some examples of how we've applied these four laws?
Yeah,
And
we
then,
can definitely do
kind of give
that.
like a real time, right? Should be
Sure.
fun. So, one of the things, and I still struggled with it every single day, but one of the things that I really wanted to change was my my time on social media. And I know this is like a super hot topic. Everybody's probably trying to say, yes, I'm trying to be on social media less, all that kind of stuff. But I really realized that I spent a lot of time. Now, Cal, to be honest, give me an honest answer. So, what do you think my screen time? So, I didn't even know this was a thing. So, apparently, your Apple iPhone can track your screen time and how
Yep.
much time you spend on social media. What do you think my screen time was before I started doing my habit? Just give me a guess per week. How many, not even minutes, how many hours per week do you think I spent on social media?
Per week, 20.
I used to spend 38 hours a
That's
week.
almost as much time as working.
Exactly, exactly. So pretty much if I was not working or if I was working, I might have been listening to something, right? Because they track Reddit, they track YouTube as well. So I was spending 38 hours a week, and then in my head I was like, oh my God, like that's a lot of time, and I can't believe I'm actually, I always kind of tell myself I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to learn how to do filmmaking. I don't have time to work out because I'm so busy. Then I realized I'm busy because I'm working 40, 50 hours a week, and then I'm spending another 40, 50 hours on the social media apps. So that's what I did. As I identified, that's where I wanted to start. And one of the things that he kind of goes in the book is around create like a chart of everything you do, of all your habits that you do. So you wake up in the morning, just be very, very minute with it. So I wake up, I make my bed, I brush my teeth, I check my phone. Or in my terms, it was I wake up, I take my phone out, I look at what's on Instagram at 4 a.m. in the morning, check out some TikToks, and then start my day,
TikTok is so
right?
addicting.
It is. It's so addicting. So I was kind of going. So when I looked at it, I'm like, wow, the 38 hours is not a false reporting. I counted it. I was spending about 6 hours a day either going through watching YouTube videos and I don't know, looking at some random dramas of some YouTube celebrities. I don't even know why, but I was like, oh wow, James Charles hates this person. Oh my God, I can't believe why.
Gosh.
Um, but I then I that's where I started. So I knew I needed to decrease my screen time, decrease my social media presence and social media time, and then add in more productive things I can do. So what I looked at was my phone because I realized on my home screen I had all my Instagram, all my social media apps in the first page. I didn't even have note taking. I didn't have any of that stuff. It was literally like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff. YouTube, all that, and Reddit, of course. I'm a redditor, and I realized that that's what I had to do. So make it obvious was for me was definitely restructuring my phone to make the bad habits harder to access. So make it, which is law two, which is make it unattractive. So make it unattractive for me to access those bad habits and make it attractive to access the good habits. So I want to learn how to do filmmaking. I want to learn how to do editing. So I put all those like my apps that I have, so like Skillshare, all those kind of things, I put it on my front page. So before I can go and read up or go to Instagram or YouTube, I'm gonna essentially push that towards the end and look at Skillshare first, or listen to Audible, listen to podcasts, all that kind of stuff first. Then I made it difficult for me to access those bad habits by putting those in my third page. So, Cal, you've known me for a long time. You know how lazy I am. So, for
I
me
would
to
say
scroll,
lazy.
I'm very lazy, but for me to scroll 3 pages in my phone and then open up a folder to go into the app, that was very
You
difficult.
might as
That's
well
too
not do
much time.
it.
I know exactly. I don't want to do this. Why would I do this? And for some of the apps that were really addicting, like TikTok for me, I would just log out. And most of the time, I don't even know what my password was. So then for me to log back in, I had to request a new password. I got to check my email. Like, God, I'm just talking to you about this, and I'm already feeling like this is so overwhelming. This is too much work for me to do. So I don't even want to bother with it. Um, and then I put all my productivity apps in the first page. Right, these are the stuff that's going to really push me towards, um, you know, building up my skills, building up my just trying to learn new things, and that's what I did. Is I put those in the first page. So that's really helped me out a lot because now here's how I made it satisfying. You ready for this, Cal?
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
If I so on my third page where I have all my social media apps, if I have the screen time widget because hallelujah, Apple finally has widgets. They put the widget up there for screen time and it tells me how many I have. If I find out by Sunday I have more than 15 hours spent, and again, I'm not trying to just overhaul my entire life. I'm not trying to go from 38 hours per week to zero.
Right.
I make small changes. So each week was okay, I'm going to do 35 hours. I'm going to do 30 hours. So make myself more motivated to do this. Now I'm at 15 hours. So if I spend more than 15 hours a week
Dang.
on social media, I have to log out of my favorite social media app. So that's what I kind of tell myself. Like that's how I can make it satisfying. Is like, you know what, or dissatisfying. Like what, I'm kind of taking my own privileges away from going to social media. That's kind of like my negative. And then if I'm for my productivity, so if I know I did spend more time on productivity app, I learned a new skill, I listened to an audiobook once a week, I get to give myself rewards, whether it be like I love ice cream. It's a bad habit of mine. But I love ice cream.
What
So
what flavor? What flavor?
I'm vanilla. I think
Vanilla?
I'm
Not even
just
vanilla bean? Just
just
vanilla?
vanilla, just vanilla. It's so weird now. I went from like Rocky Road to just plain old boring vanilla. It's guess what happened when you're
It's not
35
boring,
years
it's
old.
classic. Classic.
So that's kind of what I did. I kind of had to lay it all out before. So I kind of had a good habit that I wanted to add, and then I had a bad habit that I wanted to eliminate. And it's definitely helping out because I did realize that the more you start to push away, make it harder to access the bad habit, the less you want to do it. You're like, you know what? I look at my phone. I'm just going to listen to a book. I'm driving on the road. I'm going to my stores. I'm going to just listen to a book instead of putting up, YouTube or something and listening to some random stuff. So that's what I kind of did.
Okay,
Kalita,
very
what
cool.
did you do?
So mine's a little different. Mine was I hit a point in my life where I was not feeling my best self either at home or at work. And so I said, look, I really need to carve out some me time. So what I did, first of all, make it obvious, was really just set aside time for me every day. And I could not find that anywhere in the day except for between 5 and 7 a.m. So making it obvious was I'm going to set out time 5 to 7 every morning. Start out slow, have me time to just exercise and read and just hang out by myself. Second law, make it attractive. So I made it so that it was enticing to wake up at 5 a.m. because if you know me, I used to wake up at 8, 9 o'clock in the
I was
morning.
gonna ask, how did you entice yourself to wake up at 5 a.m.? I would always argue with them like, dude, just try waking up earlier, and you're like, no, I need to wake up by 7 o'clock
So
with a
you
podcast every single
guys,
day.
Tapas wakes up at 4:30 every morning for as long as I've known him, and every day I'm like, dude, how have you been up for 5 hours? I literally just rolled out of bed. Like I could never. But I got to a point where I actually had to, otherwise I would have no time for me. And so I made it very attractive to myself. I set my alarm for 5 a.m. and I set this like slow rise alarm so it wasn't that like annoying like wake up. It's
Those are
nice.
awesome.
No, those give me a heart attack and have me like really start off very angry. And so I have this like nice slow rise alarm. It's very peaceful. And then I created this playlist for myself where all of my favorite songs. So the very second I wake up, I hit play on my playlist. So it starts playing all of my feel good music. And then I also set I have this candle that I really like. I actually have it right here. This is one of my favorite scents. If you guys can see it, this is from Sunday Forever, 1111. Smells so good. It's called Fig and Wishes. So I play that first thing, or I turn that on, and oh my god, do you hear my kids crying in the background, you guys? This is insane. So anyway, um, and I set the candle, set my mood, and I'm ready to go 5 a.m. You guys, that's the only time I have peace and quiet in my house, as you can tell. It's like crying like this all the time. Third law, make it easy. So I told myself I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna read. So I set my workout equipment right there next to my bed on the floor. So I literally like slide out of bed, like I roll out like a sloth, and then I plant myself right onto my yoga mat and I start doing my stretches right away. I'm probably not even awake yet, just one eye is open, but I'm still doing the moves. I've got my
Hey,
resistance band, my weights, and I start working out. And going with starting slow. I started with just 10 minutes a day working out and moving my way up to 20 minutes to 30 minutes. I'm at the 25-minute mark right now. So making it
okay.
easy, everything is there for me. And then the last law is make it satisfying. So this one's my favorite because I actually love check marks and to-do lists and things like that. So I actually have a tracker and I track every day. If I wake up at 5 and I do my workout, I'll create a little check and how long I worked out for. So that makes it really fun and exciting for me to do. So that's how I've added the atomic habit behaviors to allow me some me time because you can hear second baby crying now. It never ends. The first one and then now the second one. So
Yeah,
it's the only time I can
I
have
know.
me time is in the darkness of 5 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Yeah. So, and I guess one of my things for you, or questions for you, was the whole habit stacking. I know you mentioned that earlier. Has this new routine or new system for you helped you with any of your other habits, or like has it transferred over to your day to day, or is it still like a work in progress? What do you think?
It's definitely still a work in progress, but I do see it with my work. There are certain things that I typically avoid doing that I am constantly on the exceptions list for. So which means if you guys don't know it, our company will sometimes send out lists of things that you have not done and it's past deadline
By
and
the way, I'm on that all the time.
so
That's
there
why I'm
are
working 12
certain
hours a day.
things that I just don't do. And so now for me, I will tell myself, as soon as I'm done with emails before I go, do visits or whatnot, I'll crank out like 5 of these just to get them done with. And then I'll just slowly add on to it. But it's better than not doing anything at all. So
No, it's crazy because some of the stuff he talks about in the book, it really does and when you listen to it, you're like, that doesn't make any sense, or I don't know about that. But it actually does kind of transfer. Once you start creating a good system and good habit, you really do start going down this path of like, okay, I've already done this, so now I'm going to try to do this differently now. So one of the things that I mentioned was like I spend 38 hours a week, on social media, but then a lot of the time that's not recorded is me playing video games, and like I would spend, God, dude, I would spend like almost 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. sometimes at night. I would be playing video games,
Look, I am a
and that was
huge advocate for me time, so you do what you gotta do.
well, and that's the and but that was not helping my productivity, right, whatsoever. And I realized I'm like, you know what? I still love video games. Don't get me wrong, I still play them, but I've pushed them off from like every single night of playing them to on the weekend. So Friday night, I'm not going out to clubs, even though it's COVID. I'm being responsible. Um, I'm gonna be playing video games. That's my me time. That's my time that I can play.
Wait, can we
Um,
can we just back up real quick? So if it was not COVID, you would be at a club every Friday night?
Prize fights. No, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I probably wouldn't be at the club. I would still be playing video games. But it's definitely has changed because now I'm like, well, I should spend this extra time that I used to have of 10 to 12 every single night. I'm gonna just maybe go ahead and work on editing a video or whatever I want to do or something I want to do creatively. So it definitely has just kind of like added to my life where like I changed that one thing of like social media bad, and then I went to like, okay, video games maybe not so much. I need to change that up, and I started doing more, just more productive. So
Yeah,
it's definitely changed my routine. So
right. So it
I
starts
can definitely see it.
influencing everything else in your life, right?
Yeah,
It kind of just
yeah,
rolls over. That's really cool. And I like how you said that you kind of schedule it out now. So instead of playing video games every night, you do it on the weekends. And what I would
yeah.
imagine is you could reward yourself with it as well, right? So if you hit
There
10
you go.
hours of social media, then you would allow yourself an hour of video games. So
Yep.
I think a lot of it is just how do you sit down and make a plan for yourself to make sure that you're very successful. And I think a lot of times people say, oh, I don't have time to do this or I don't have time to do that. And if you really just sit down to create that plan and make that time, you don't find yourself in a situation where you don't have time because your time is much more spent productively to create more time for other things. Otherwise, if you don't
Yeah.
have that plan, you're kind of just scrambling and just figuring out as you go, and that's when you start wasting time and when you start feeling like I don't have time for anything.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's the key thing is just making sure you outline, and then again the book you time talks about it too. Is he even has a worksheet that you can do, and we'll link it below. That you can fill out and just kind of routine outlines all your routines, all your habits, and just be again very honest with yourself and see what you can eliminate or what you need to change,
Yes,
and then you'll
because
just
it's
find yourself.
right, because
Yeah.
it's good habits and bad habits as well.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's neutral habits. Like waking up is a neutral habit. Everybody has to wake up, right? Now, whether or not you wake up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, like Kalina does, or do you wake up at 8 o'clock, roll out of bed, and hop into a Cisco meeting or whatever, right? So
We know someone like that.
I know we do, as you know.
Which there's nothing
But
wrong with that, by the way. If that is you, then that's great. As long as you're happy and you're good with it, it's good.
yeah, we love our colleague, but we don't know how we could ever do that.
We call her Sleepy Panda,
But
by the way. So
yeah.
Sleepy Panda, if you're listening, cheers to you.
But yeah, guys, just to kind of recap a little bit, it's a very, very good book, very good listen. I myself have listened to it a lot of times. I know it's available at local bookstores as well if you're into that as well. But are
Yeah,
we gonna say something?
if you want to listen to an Audible, I think it's like 5.5 hours if you listen at normal speed. But guys, listen to this. If you listen at 1.8 speed, you can catch this book in just 3 hours and you'll get all the goodness. And if you don't have 3 hours, you got 30 minutes with us today, then this is all you need to know. Atomic Habits is all about having small, small steps. That surprising power of atomic habits to compound and create lasting impact for the rest of your life. Habits shape your identity and vice versa. So identify who you want to be and stick with it and say, this is who I am. And then build habits in 4 simple steps. First is make it obvious. Second is make it attractive. Third, make it easy. And fourth, make it satisfying. So if you don't have time to read the book, that's all you need to know.
So definitely be sure if you guys have a chance, be sure to follow us on Instagram. Again, it's a podcast titled Eat, Lead, Sleep. leave some comments on there. Let us know if the book has helped you guys a lot. I know both of us, we still listen to it from time to time. We go back and listen to some chapters here and there, apply it to our normal lives. But very, very good book. I cannot emphasize it enough.
And also, don't
Kat, what's our
judge.
next week?
Well, don't judge our Instagram account, you guys, because we're both trying to stay off of social media. So if it's not
Yeah, no, I
active,
know.
you know why.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so leading into the next topic, in 2 weeks, we will be back and we'll be discussing mindfulness. So, tying everything in from our first podcast of work life infusion to our topic today of how to create small habits to impact your life, to being mindful, which is for me really having. Intent with what you're doing, what you're thinking, and just being intentional with your day.
So I think it's gonna be a very insightful topic. I think we're gonna get into a little bit of our personal lives a little bit too, because of course
Ooh,
mindfulness is not
gossip.
just gossip. But it's not just about leading, but it's also just about your day to day and being very deliberate with your actions. As well as kind of how I look at it. But definitely tune in. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks, but it's gonna be a very good listen. Again, listen to our previous podcast. This one, check out Atomic Habits. A very good listen as well. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you
Cheers, you
guys.
guys. Bye.
Cheers.